All right, Wilson, let's get the weekend started. 6:30 out there, 27 in Billings. It's Friday, and here's a look at Cat Country News. First news is fair. It's accurate. You get the damn truth. After a resounding election victory, President Trump and Republicans said they now have a mandate to govern by the people. There will be any room for dissent in Congress? Maybe. Trump's laying down the gauntlet after he took office, challenging the Senate right now to not approve his nominations. All kinds of them coming in that will have to be confirmed and some that will not. Changing the way that America is going to do business, folks. We now have government efficiency czars that'll be looking on all of the trillions of wasteful spending where they're going to cut regulation and bureaucracy. It was a mandate, all right, a mandate that the voters sent a clear and loud message. The president will nominate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to be our Department of Health and Human Services director. He was a former Democrat, got tired of his own party, supported President Trump during his run for president because of his concerns about healthy Americans. Trump said that he will have him lead it. And folks, he's going to get some things done. Get to the bottom of this vaccination hoax that was pulled over our eyes all those years. The president yesterday also chose Doug Collins, former congressman from Georgia, to run our Department of Veterans Affairs. And he will nominate North Dakota's governor, Doug Burgum, to lead the Department of the Interior. A top Iranian official has now pledged his country's support for Lebanon after talks with Lebanese leaders in the war between Israel and Hezbollah. The United States continues to push both sides to agree to a ceasefire. However, the U.S. is not at all pushing a ceasefire with Russia in the Ukraine. In fact, we're doubling down. Antony Blinken yesterday said that the administration, we're working against the clock. We're going to dole out billions and billions of dollars and try to spend every dollar that we have before Donald Trump takes office in January. Isn't that a great way to serve the American people? That's right. They're going to pump as much money into Ukraine as they can to fight Putin. Trump, when he gets in, is going to try to stop the war. The Democrats are accelerating the amount of aid being pumped into the Ukraine. That war has killed tens of thousands of people, displaced millions. And the Biden administration and Blinken, who, by the way, had no foreign policy experience when he was picked as Secretary of State, want to continue to fund that war and have not talked ceasefire since. Representatives from 21 members who represent the Pacific Rim are all meeting in Peru. It's the Asian Pacific Economic Forum. It'll be Joe Biden's last hurrah there. It brings together countries and members, and they talk about world trade and other things. Joe Biden, China's President Xi Jinping, Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, and others will all be meeting there. Out of Azerbaijan, where they're having the big climate conference, cities, they say, in Asia and the United States are the ones emitting the most heat-trapping gases that is changing the weather. Shanghai, they said, is the most polluting city, according to their new data. 7 state provinces spew more than 1 billion metric tons of gases, they say. All of them are in China, except for the United States. One down in Texas, they said ranked 6. And of course, they're going to pick a red state. Not New York City or Los Angeles. No, a city in Texas, they said. U.S. Vice President Al Gore released that information Friday at the climate talks in Azerbaijan. He's there trying to set new targets. Well, why don't you just set the new temperatures that we're supposed to hit? Because they can't control the weather, folks, and they know it. But they can control dollars and money and your mindset and take more control over policy. President Donald Trump has a vision for education in America, trying to get our kids now back to proficiency levels. Education that gets rid of wokeness and all of this other left-wing indoctrination, he says, into our schools. He wants to give the money back to the states. They know how to do it better than Washington, D.C. $200 billion a year goes into that Department of Education, and that money can all go back to states like Montana and Wyoming and others around the country where they can do what is best for their students. We'll see. Australia's government released their final plan, banning children from under 16 from social media. It's too blunt, according to some, but they said the damage that it's done to our youth, irreparable. They've got to do something. Since the Middle East wars began with Hamas, and many international airlines have halted their airline flights into that region. Israel's main gateway to the rest of the world is Fly Dubai. That's a sister airline to the Emirates airline. They've had to discontinue a lot of flights in that region because of the war. Abu Dhabi has continued flights as well. The flight schedule still remains politically important for the UAE because they have a lot of money there and business is done there. People fly in and out, but they're picking up a few of the flights now since Israel really controls the airspace. There's been some new research out confirming there were volcanoes that erupted on the far side of the moon billions of years ago. Researchers analyzed some of that lunar soil that was brought back by China's spacecraft, and they found fragments of volcanic rock, 2.8 billion years old. The oldest dated back to 4.2 billion years. Previous study had suggested the moon's far side. I didn't want to say far side of the moon, folks. The moon's far side might have had a volcanic past, but they said this confirms it. With the moon rocks that came back on China's Chang'e 6 Explorer. California was seeing its share of bear break-ins. Now it's been seen as a fake bear break-in. They finally found that there was some nutcase job over there that was dressing in a bear costume, breaking into cars, and what LA police called Operation Bear Claw. 4 LA residents were arrested Wednesday, accused of defrauding insurance companies out of $142,000, claiming that bears were the ones damaging their vehicles.
Oh, my God.
Wasn't them. A biologist reviewed a lot of the videos and confirmed that it was clearly people in bear suits in California. On the financial front, Chairman Jerome Powell said Federal Reserve will likely cut their interest rates in the next coming months slowly and deliberately because inflation has shown signs of persistence. Boy, that's totally different than the word that we heard from the Feds in October prior to the election. We heard that inflation was calming down, they could lower interest rates once again, and the economy was right where they wanted to be. Well, not yesterday. Now we said inflation has shown signs of persistence. That's right. Spoke in Dallas, said inflation is trying to get closer to their 2% target, but it's not there yet. Interesting how things change after an election. European stocks a little lower today. Asian shares are mixed. U.S. stocks were down a little bit yesterday. Oil futures were down, though, early this morning, which is good, down about another 28 cents. Oil is around $68 a barrel. The S&P fell 36 points. The Dow fell 207. The NASDAQ fell 137 points yesterday, but more business and companies and corporations have been really optimistic since the election. One of the nation's largest meat processors has agreed to pay $2 million to resolve allegations of child labor violations at a plant in Minnesota. Its investigation found that Smithfield Packaged Meats employed 11 children between the ages of 14 and 17 that were performing potentially dangerous work. They deny knowingly hiring anybody under age 18 to work at the plant. They said they didn't admit liability under the settlement, but they found that those kids were working there. Like Mark's joke yesterday about the phones. That was great. 2 kids in a classroom, young kids, with cups hooked to a string said, "Look, Dad, we invented the phones." And the dad got out his cell phone and he said, "Well, look what underage kids in China have developed." That was a Wilson joke, folk, from yesterday. Our state judge heard arguments over policies to block transgenders from changing their sex on birth certificates and driver's license in Montana. The judge, Mike Manahan, ruled yesterday at a request to put that and block it until they can hear the case further. Hearing in a latest of series of ruled laws and challenges by efforts by our last legislature to prevent residents from changing their sex on their identifying documents. He said, "We're here today challenging what amounts to the latest manifestation of these defendants' singular obsession with trying to single out transgenders in Montana. Montanans for the Unequal Treatment and Discrimination Act brought on this suit. And of course, the American Civil Liberties Union of Montana are picking up on it. The cases were filed in April by 2 transgender women on behalf of themselves and others who've been unable to obtain the documents that reflect the way they feel about their sex and not what their actual sex is." Still feeling the backlash of all of these Biden policies over the last 4 years. For weeks and weeks, we've told you about all the closures of drugstores and restaurants and chains that have had to close down because of what inflation has done to them. I see Advanced Auto Parts is going to close 500 stores and shed another 200 independent locations around the country, and 523 of them, as a result, disappointing quarterly results. And I can vouch for that. I've seen when you people are driving around on the streets, you are not taking care of your vehicles out there, and I don't get it. Probably the second biggest investment you'll make your whole life, and you just let it go to hell. You don't do a damn bit of work on your vehicles out there.
It started.
Drives me crazy. And the world's tallest teenager is going to have to wait a year to become the world's tallest college player. Florida's coach Todd Golden said that Oliver Rio, that 7'9" freshman, he's got a spot in the Guinness Book of Records. He said he's going to redshirt. He is from Canada, played in even one game. He would have burned one of his 4 seasons of college eligibility. So he's going to spend the rest of this season practicing and honing in on his skills with his teammates. So next year, then, he will still be a freshman. And the students, of course, wanted him in the game against Grambling State on Monday, but he remains seated. He's going to redshirt, and he'll have to wait next year. God, this thing's 7'9". What if he goes through a growth spurt when he's a freshman in college? You know, that happens a lot.
It does, but I don't know why you'd sit him.
Yeah.
At 7'9", you don't have to move, and you can change the game.
Well, he's got to learn the skills, I guess, or something. You know, that's what they're doing. So, but 7'9".
Wow.
I'm glad I'm not him and have to fly. Ooh, Cat Country News Time is 6:45. Check weather next.
Well, after much ado, tonight is finally the night that Mike Tyson and Jake Paul are going to fight. And they got together at the weigh-in yesterday, and they, you know what you do at the weigh-in, you stand there chest to chest, and you stare each other in the eye. And Mike Tyson took a swipe at him, because Mike Tyson's crazy. I am not getting in the ring with Mike Tyson. I don't care what the money is.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just a big spectacle, but it's going to be dangerous in there.
Well, and that's what they do at those things.
Yeah.
They do it to help promote excitement about and anticipation of the fight. They take swipes at each other and
Right.
want to punch each other right there.
You got to sell some more pay-per-views, man.
Yeah. So we'll see. Not too bad early today. Partly sunny, 44 degrees. And then tonight we have that system move in where we're going to get some snow. Might see some white roads or white sidewalks around the area tomorrow with that snow. Then on Saturday, it breaks. Tomorrow, partly sunny, 45. 51 on Sunday again. So Mark and I were just talking about that 7'9" kid. You know, I told Mark, man, you think I have problems getting pants in Costco? Guy goes in, looks for a 34.57.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, he just.
Well, there's some company that's advertising. You just get the app on your phone, and the app measures you.
Yeah, isn't that something?
I know.
I mean, I'm 6'4". That kid's 7'9". He's 15 inches taller. He'd be up to our ceiling.
Yeah.
He'd be up to our ceiling in here.
Yeah.
It's crazy because we have a suspended ceiling in here, so it's probably about 7'9", not an 8-footer. So that's just crazy.
I know.
Downtown Billings, 27 degrees out there right now, 6:47, and that's what's happening. Mark and Paul here together. I think going into the weekend, we could all use a little of that.